Well, plenty of punters out there say this is the best night of greyhound racing for the year. And here on the Green Light on Racing and Sport podcast, we are going in-depth, race by race, Melbourne Cup Heat Night. A lot of people say as well, this time of year it feels like Christmas. It almost is. It is for a racing fan like myself and Ethan Christian, who is on the line to discuss everything Melbourne Cup Heat Night from Sandown Park Saturday night. Eth, cannot wait for this.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jim. And this is what we play for, really, isn't it? Trainers, owners, punters alike. This is the race night of all race nights. I reckon the 12 races, heats the Bold Trees, heats the Melbourne Cup. It's the best all year round, and I cannot wait to get out there Saturday night and get my teeth stuck in.
It's going to be good fun. Probably not the easiest night of racing. Like, we're recording this time stamping early, sort of Wednesday afternoon. Fields were out a couple of hours ago, so the fixed odds through a couple of the bookies starting to roll out now. So we're starting to try and look where the value is and do that type of stuff as a punter, I suppose. But on this show, this edition of the Green Light On podcast, Melbourne Cup Carnival edition, we will be just taking a look, I reckon, runner by runner on all of the big races and trying to find those winners, because this is for me the night of nights. I know the Melbourne Cup and the Bold Trees, the final night's awesome, but there's something about the heats because every single race just about is red hot. It's game on. We'll get straight into it with the big race preview. Big race preview. Well, it's a big race preview program. For I think the first time in Green Light On history, we're calling it just a big race preview because there's 12 races. Even the mixed 4 and 5 to kickstart the night isn't a race to be sneezed at, Heath. So we'll kick off with race number 1. First event of the night. We won't go through the field in this, just the tip. I'm with 2 highly connected. I just think the red extradited could be the massive improver. He's been wanting the fence, hasn't got anywhere near the fence of late. He had the 2, but didn't really use it a couple of starts ago. But apart from that, they're all ordinary draws. So I think he's the improver, but he's been going so hard left when the lid's open extradited that I just think he creates space for highly connected. Bebop Jazz goes the other way. She'll sort of hold the outside brigade off. And yeah, I'm pretty keen highly connected's going to run a decent race here in the first. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the graders have given us a really easy race to kick off the night, I thought. Not. No, I think I'm going to go with She's Wide, who I think's got a bit of a chance to lead this event. I think they're all pretty evenly matched, and those who are maybe slower overall will go forward, and those who are faster overall might be a little bit back. Bebop Jazz is probably the fastest in this field, but not sure it'll be out in front. So I think She's Wide is a chance to land on the arm, but I concur with you. Extradited, I thought, was a better run last week than has been in previous weeks, and will improve off the draw as well. Tough race. I'm going to go She's Wide.
Yeah, I think it's a race where you might have a 2 or 3 pronged attack to kickstart the night if the prices are what you hope they end up being. Heat 1 of the Sportsbet Bold Trees set down for decision at 6 minutes to 7 on Saturday night. Number 1, Sweet Sundown, 2, Flying Envy, 3, Galactic Spartan, 4, Pass Mark, 5, Magpie Hector, 6, Magic Snowdrop, 7, Fade to Black, and 8, Late Night News. Reserve number 9, Larry Who. Firstly, I'll start with a bit of a speed map here, Heath. I thought Sweet Sundown, Flying Envy, the 2 with Fade to Black that probably roll forward through the first 100 metres, and there could be a bit of buffeting up near the lead. Flying Envy's been dropping away, and I thought it just might be a race for a few of those back markers to flash home, and I've got a lot of time for Late Night News. Drawn the outside, I think this is a dog that just knows how to run well in big races.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, Sweet Sundown, based on that run last week at the Meadows, should go out to lead and should lead for a few hundred metres, but will probably puncture a little bit towards the end. I had the same as you. I think it's a race that sets up quite nicely for Late Night News, who I thought was a really good run in defeat last week to Ethanol Water. Early prices is about $3, and I think anything sort of $2.50 or above is pretty good for Late Night News. I think that'll be the greyhound you want to be in the first heat of the Bold Trees.
We're aligning in the first heat. That's good news. Heat number 2 of the Bold Trees for the stayers. 1, King Ron. 2, Kenya Striker. 3, Rapido Spirit. 4, Charlestown. 5, Payback. 6, Star Stay. 7, Ethanol Water. Clearly the biggest name in this. 8, A Pillar. 9, Larry Who. Speed map's interesting. There's a lot of get-back run-on types in the race. Ethanol Water's probably a decent chance of riding the speed just about from the draw.
Yeah, I think Rapido Spirit is the one who's a chance to lead early. Been leading in some lower grade staying races, but does have a bit of box speed early. I think he might go ahead and take the lead. But I think this heat is the weakest of the three by some considerable margin, and I think Ethanol Water really should just be winning this. She's $1.40 early, but look, I don't have a huge opinion of Kenya Striker, who's taking up a bit of the market at sixes early, and I think Ethanol Water should just be winning this with some form of luck.
Ago we're saying does she
yeah, let's not go there.
So now we're saying she should just
let's not do that.
The second heat, she does look as if she's just going to dominate this.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a runner in the next race, and I was walking around Hillsville Sanctuary at the time of the box draw when it was live on GRV, and I saw heat 2 and I thought, gee, that's the one you want to be in. And then heat 3 came out, and here's the field for that. Copper Rush 1,
Stacked.
Aiden's Warrior 2, Miss Mary Jo 3, Grace in Sammy's drawn 4. Our boy Nitrous there in 5. He looks a bit oddly placed in a Group 1 heat. 6 Without a Trace, 7 Moonlight Miller, 8 Mapungalara, again the reserve Larry Hu. And yeah, one of the stronger heats, if not the strongest. Without a Trace, she's just a star. She'll roll forward. Aiden's Warrior was runners up to her in the bold Trees, and they meet again. I think there's a fair bit of depth in this heat. I'm going to be Without a Trace. I just think not only for this, I think she'll win the final. I think she's clearly the number one stayer in the country right now, and the speed map should have her riding straight shotgun to the lead early.
Yeah, I've gone Without a Trace on top as well. She picks herself. But what I will say is I wouldn't begrudge anyone who, at the prices at the moment, would be shopping around, because she's $1.25, and I think they're sort of the wrong way around in their respective markets, Ethanol Water and Without a Trace, because I think Ethanol Water should just be winning that heat, whereas Without a Trace might cop a little bit of pressure going into that first bend. Copper Brush has drawn box 1, and he's not the slowest dog early, and he can hold the lead and be a bit of a pest up there. So I think, you know, she might not have it all her own way, but she really is the class runner, and Aiden's Warrior is no slouch either. So Without a Trace on top, but it might not be as straightforward as it appears.
Are you telling me it could be a race for a roughie like maybe number 5 Nitrous that might come through mid-race?
Well, I don't know. I think the trainer's pretty happy with the prep, so no, we'll just see. He can hug the rails, and if they jam up top, then who knows? He might hug the rail to victory.
The owner's not happy with the trainer, though. Man's the trainer. Anyway, we move on to the first heat of the Sportsbet Melbourne Cup. Cannot wait for these heats. It's always so cutthroat. The 8 winners get through. We, of course, had a few years back where there was actually a dead heat, and they had to do a ballot to find out which greyhound will miss the big dance. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. But heat number 1, Ross the Boss in box 1, 2 Poor Vortex, 3 Sharapova Star, 4 Daysees Rory, 5 Zelda Cavilla, 6 Stomping, 7 Weblek Joel, Dear Carla Lou's drawn box 8, Delicate Intrepid Bale, the reserves in this heat. Speed map for mine, there's a fair bit of pace between Ross the Boss and Sharapova Star. I think they're going to cut at each other, Heath. What do you make firstly at the speed map?
Oh, it's a tricky one. It depends which way you want to side. Ross the Boss and Sharapova Star will both come out, and they'll both want to go the opposite direction. Sharapova Star will want to go to the fence, and Ross the Boss will want to move up the track. It depends if you think one will get across the other, or if you think they'll meet. I think Sharapova Star might just get ahead of Ross the Boss, but it could really go either way. But I think either of them that leads will probably go on to win the race, because what will happen is I reckon there's going to be a bit of traffic in behind, just with all the dogs trying to go different directions.
I'm tipping Poor Vortex number 2, because I can just envisage Ross the Boss coming out with Sharapova Star. They both sort of, with Ross the Boss being slightly bigger, just veering Sharapova Star off the rail through the first 100. The door opens for Poor Vortex. He's got 600 metre form, so he can probably camp on them and run them down, or he can get that lucky run through at the start, drive through and lead and win.
Yeah, I think the 3 is a chance to cross, and I'm going to side with that. And the early odds have come up with Ross the Boss at 3s and Sharapova Star at 5, so I'm pretty happy to play Sharapova Star. She can go that 5 dead. She can even break 5, really. She's done it before, so I think she's a chance to get across the red, and the red will move up and maybe take a couple with it, and that might just allow Sharapova Star to set up a break down the back, which she'll need, but she's been running out 500 pretty strongly the last couple starts, so I'm happy to side with Sharapova Star.
Yeah, the start's going to be really interesting, I reckon, the first 50 metres in that. On to heat number 2 of the Melbourne Cup. Number 1, Zipper on Time, the Laurels winner, has only tasted defeat on the one occasion. 2, Poor Vince. 3 is Valenzuela. Shadows of Blue, the old dog's in rare form at the moment. Drawn 4. Urana Xavier 5, Aston Rainer 6, Poor Ultra 7, and Valedictorian box 8. Reserves Sequan and Parumba Jazzman. Again, speed maps, I think Zipper on time just goes through to lead because she's given every indication she wants the fence. She gets it here. A couple of looks at Sandown under her belt. Can see her just going bang from that inside draw.
Yeah, I see no reason why she won't be stepping and leading from that inside draw. She was a little bit slower away last week than normal, and she got the benefit of poor Gertrude on her inside helping her out in the Laurels final. But she's drawn the red here, and she steps like she usually does. She'll be leading. I don't think there's anything in this race that'll cross her. She's going to be very, very hard to beat.
Yeah, I think she's one of the better bets of the night, to be honest, because Team
Agreed.
Thompson have pumped her tyres up. If they pump Zipper on time's tyres up any more, the tyres will
burst.
pop. Burst, 100%. So I think off the inside, she's got a statement to make in this heat of the Melbourne
Yes.
Cup. On to the third heat, which is race number 7, 8:32 on Saturday night. 1 Deadly Avenger, 2 Giacomo, 3 is Intrepidus, 4 Vincent Bale, 5 Ascender Static, 6 Cheeky Chompers, 7 Rhythmic Energy. Box 8 Colac Kid makes it hard for him. Wilma Bale draws 9. Beep Bop Jazz is the second reserve. How do you look at the speed map here?
With great difficulty. Deadly Avenger, with the benefit of the draw, I think will just be able to hold on to the lead. But I'll tell you what, Giacomo's been coming out of late and going to the fence. Intrepidus has been coming out of late and going to the fence. If he doesn't get that start right, he could be crowded within the first 20 metres, and then it's on for all money. I also don't think that Colac Kid is terribly served out there because Rhythmic Energy will come out and cut to the fence, and that might give Colac Energy a card across. Look, Colac Kid's probably going to rely on Deadly Avenger getting a bit of a bump early, but I think he's a chance out there. I have to go with Deadly Avenger just because of the draw, but it is not as straightforward as it appears on paper and as the odds may sort of show. I think it's a very, very open heat.
When you look at the map, 1, 2, 3 leaders, and the Pink's got speed as well, and Rhythmic Energy can hit the start as well. But those dogs in the guts, the 4, 5, 6, they're the slowest beginners in the race. So maybe it's not as bad a box 8 as it first looks with Colac Kid. I'm with Intrepidus. So look, he did not run out the 500 as well as I would have liked last week, but I've recently had him in my power rankings that suggest he could go to a Phoenix. If he's going to be any chance of doing that, he has just got to come out all guns a-blazing, cross and lead. And I feel like he might be a different dog at Sandown, Heath, if we can get him to the front, because his win in the Geelong Derby was enormous. He just exploded out of the traps. He hasn't been able to do that at any of his city runs to date. But I've got a feeling, Melbourne Cup heat night, I love the story of Robert Pilotta as well. He works a full-time job as well as doing the dogs. It's just a moment for him to just soak in and have a crack at a race like this. And I think Intrepidus has the engine to win.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, he's got that speed, and Sandown Park obviously suits those dogs that can get out on the arm. He's just got to convert that speed from the horseshoe track to the 2 turns. I mean, the other thing which I didn't mention is that he can also bring Vincent Bale into the race, who, was pretty unlucky to lose last week to Wyong Dallas, and he's a big figure. I'm just a bit worried about where he's going to get to. But no, there's no doubting that Intrepidus has early speed, and if he can bring it on Saturday night, he'll be in it up to his eyeballs, I'm sure.
If you're driving down, let's say, the Monash Freeway, it's sort of peak hour, and you're starting to cruise at 60 to 80, maybe to 100 kilometres per hour, the speed limit, and somebody cuts you off, Heath, what would you do? Just cut you off, just slice you in half. What would you do?
Take a very deep breath and try not to lose my collective, you know what, probably.
You know what I'd do?
What's that?
I'd honk.
Yeah, here we go.
That was bad, wasn't it?
We might have to edit that one out.
Okay.
Race 8, number 1 is Honk. Yeah, that was pretty poor. Didn't go to plan. 2 Wyong Dallas, 3 Can You Excite Me, 4 Miss Envy, 5 Dashing Sleigh, Poor Petrov 6, Poor Fabian 7. The superstar sprinter from the country, Matlock, draws box 8. Barefoot Elsa extradited at the reserves here. Speed map in this one's interesting because Wyong Dallas, Can You Excite Me, they are going to go to town on each other through the first 100 metres, I think, in this one.
Yep, I think they're going to come out and fly hard left, and they'll be running. One of them will run 5 dead. I'm not sure which one it will be, but both of them might as well. So they've both shown that they can do it recently. The speed will be on for all money down low. Matlock isn't a slouch either. He's drawn wide, so there's another speed element. Honk, I'm a little bit worried about. It's drawn underneath that speed and will try to get up the track a little bit. Not sure where he's going to settle going down the back straight. It's got the ability. I just worry about his map. I know she didn't win last week and she might have had her chance, but she also copped a couple of bumps. I think this sets up not too badly for Dashing Slay. There's a lot of speed. They'll go out hard. She stepped okay last week. She used the track. The speed's underneath her. Apart from Matt Locke, I reckon she's a good chance to win this heat of the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, she was enormous last week, and either she was enormous or Zipper on Time was just better. She looked home on the home corner, and then Zipper on Time, I think, just like a good racehorse, saw the other horse coming and just responded. I'm with Honk Honk. I just think the 2 and 3 cut at each other, and although I reckon Honk Honk wants to use a little bit of the track, if there's space there and she can get to second, third down the back and stalk those 2 leaders, definitely the engine room to run Wyong, Dallas and Kenya Excite Me down. So Honk Honk. Race 8, number 1 for me. 9th race, Heat 5 of the Melbourne Cup. Number 1, Kanya Mayhem. 2, Nigel De Vere. 3, Paul Quinby. 4, Scalacci. 5, Born Model. 6, Ethanol Secret. 7, Weblake Billy. 8, Traumatised. Reserves Kiwi Kenji. Dusty McGraw. This is interesting because we might even play a little bit of vision here of Kanya Mayhem when he went around in the Cranbourne Cup. He drew this alley, box number 1, and we spoke to Jess Hopkins on this podcast in weeks gone by, and she sort of suggested he was a hard railer as a pup when he first started sort of pre-training, early days of racing, had a run of wide draws to kickstart his career, and it sort of educated him in a manner of wanting to use a little bit of the track. And as you see from box 1 in this replay, Heath, in the Cranbourne Cup, he just wanted to sort of push out. He was almost through and away. And I think if he can sort of cause that domino effect as he rolls out without actually causing any contact, he might be able to zip through and lead. But if he does find contact from the outside, and the speed map suggests he's a big chance of doing that because there is some heat out wide, maybe Nigel De Vere gets the suck run through on the inside if he lets the red go early.
Yeah, it's just going to come down to how much pressure is on him as he goes to turn out of that first straight down the back. So I think he's going to just get underneath him and do enough to hold on and withstand the pressure to lead. And I'm sure Jess won't mind me saying he had a tune-up post to post around Sandown on Monday and went really well. He's in good touch, so I see no reason why he won't be able to hold the lead and win from box 1, but totally agree with your point that there is speed in this race. You'll get it from Born Model. You'll get it from Nigel De Vere, who can step. So he's going to have to get underneath and make sure he doesn't fly off that first turn. But I think he's going to do enough to hold the lead.
Jess won't mind you saying, mate, was it sub 23, the little tune-up he had?
It might have been 23 dead around that, or might have been a couple milliseconds under. Yeah, no, he's going well.
He's going well. He's got a 29.17 PB there, so he can handle the Sandown track. I'm with Nigel De Vere. I just think they're the 2. I think if you're having a bet in the race, you either take Kanya Mayhem to push through, hold them out. If he doesn't push through and hold them out, maybe Nigel De Vere gets that nice run through at the first corner. Race number 10, the Hume Cup winner draws the Plum Alley accredited box 1, 2 Aston Bugsy, 3 Tim Zoo, 4 Mapunga Tully, 5 Tribeca, 6 Paul Barton, 7 Paul Yannell. Kenya Tornado, who finished up 3rd in the shootout last week, is drawn the pink. Slick Badger into 9 and Quillen Vale box number 10 at this stage, or number 10, won't be into box 10. There's not a 10th box, is there, Ethan? But gee, again, speed map. I think this is a nightmare of a race to try and work out because accredited, if he steps like he did in the Hume Cup, he'll probably win the bloody Melbourne Cup as well. But I just don't know if I can rely on him.
Well, he's not been the most reliable box dog over the course of his career, and then he came out last start and broke the first split record over the 600. So, makes sense of all that. But he's a super talented chaser. My God, he can run fast. And it probably worked out okay for him that he's drawn the fence, which is where he wants to be, for 1. But 2, the race doesn't have an abundance of super early speed. There are dogs that can sort of go 5.07 when they get it right, but not much quicker than that, I wouldn't have thought. So I reckon he's going to get a chance to hold on to the arm here, and there's only going to be one dog in this race that can catch him if he does, and that's Tim Zoo. And Tim Zoo's, not known for being at the top of the speed map in a sprint race, so where's he going to have to come from to beat it? So, look, the early odds have accredited 280, Tim Zoo 310 and Kenya Tornado 370. Just from the box draw, I'll be taking Kenya Tornado on. I just think the outside pressure is not going to be great for him. But I think accredited can hold the arm, and that might take him a long way to winning this heat and getting into another Group 1 final for Ned McDonald.
Yeah, I think he can run a big race. He's one of my top tips, I think, in the race accredited. Just leaning to Tim Zoo, and I don't know if this is maybe a little bit of heart over mind, over brain, because he hasn't been flying. But what I did like last week when he got beat at the Meadows, showed he bullied the runner on his inside. I think it was poor Ike for memory, just trying to zip through. He sort of had a bit more spring in his step, and I think after that 600 metre crack back to a 500, second go back over the 500. Team Thompson I think they've done it with him before too, where they've stepped him up, dropped him back, and he's gone well. So. Yeah, there's Mapunga Tully, there's Tribeca. I think my map is Mapunga Tully steps, holds out Tribeca, and that creates a pocket of space underneath. But you don't want Tribeca jumping on the outside of Tim Zoo because he'll be carving hard left as well. So it's a tough heat of the Melbourne Cup, and if there is a bit of jamming out beyond the middle or toward the middle of the track, well, accredited might just jump lead, and if he's in front with 600 metre form, you'll be winning. Second last race of the night, race 11. One Whiskey Whiskers, who can roll off the track a little bit. Two My Boy Bingo. Three Keep Rolling. Four Sprightly Shan, who's got great speed. Poor Oswald in 5. 6 Mally Beauty. 7 Ritzer Chris. 8 Vista Weird. Reserves Paul Gordy and Come to Party. I'm making My Boy Bingo one of the bets of the night here, Heath. I just think this dog is flying. I reckon he's going to cross Whiskey Whiskers early, and then Whiskey Whiskers will sort of roll out under pressure. The concern for me is the speed of Sprightly Shan coming out fast and then dragging the 5, Poor Oswald, and the 6 Mally Beauty across. Now, if that happens, it's going to be game on. This is one of the heats of the night. So much speed. I think if My Boy Bingo can jump like he did through the $1 Million Chase series, I think he can win this heat of the Cup.
Yeah, this is shaping up as one of the heats of the night. I think it's a fascinating race. And My Boy Bingo flew out last week from box 8 of all boxes and went 5:03 and just crossed. And he copped a pretty big bump that first bend and recovered to run down Sprightly Shan. Is he going to repeat that 5:03? I don't think so. I think he's more of a 5:10 sort of operator. He might go a little bit quicker than that from the inside, but I think you're right. I think he might cover up Whiskey Whiskers, which might allow the dogs drawn in the middle to come across and run their race. And Sprightly Shan's going to come across and might just bring over the 5 across with it as well. Poor Oswald, who's been racing in fantastic touch, stepping well, cutting across and running time as well. It was a quick run last week. Mally Beauty's to the outside, not going to put too much pressure on Oswald early, so Oswald might just get a chance to sail across on top of Sprightly Shan and assume control down the back. So I've gone Poor Oswald, and we'll talk about the all-ins a little bit later. It'll be one of them, but I think Poor Oswald has a good chance to win this heat.
How much pressure is on Mally Beauty to perform in this? Because there's been a lot of chatter around the fact that if she draws out beyond the middle, we'll see the best of Mally Beauty. Is this her chance to prove herself as a genuine Phoenix contender? Because let's face it, the Phoenix is going to be a stronger race than this. So if she's a chance to win a Phoenix, she really has to apply herself from box 6, and especially drawing outside of Poor Oswald, there's good pace underneath. She's going to get her chance to rev up to the first corner. She might be planted wide, but again, there's going to be a similar type of heat in a race like the Phoenix.
Yeah, for sure. The pressure's going to be similar. There's only one question mark in this race for Mally Beauty, and that's the dog in box 7, Ritzer Chris, who I think can go left and can step and maybe cause a little bit of disturbance early. So Mally Beauty's going to have to step well, but the speed map underneath is great. It's just the dog directly to the outside that's a bit of a concern, but if she can ride that, then she's deserving of a spot in the final.
Much does that affect the way that you wager, I guess, Heath? Like if you see a dog that you really like, let's say you're having a bet at a race at Horsham, you're drawn box number 3, but there's a real hard railer in box 5. Is that something that you go, look, I'm just going to hope to hell that we find a way past this dog? Do you cut your bet into a quarter? Do you cut it in half? What do you do to try and navigate around that?
Well, the way I bet is purely to how I mark the dog's price. So my betting wouldn't change per se, but it will significantly change how I price the dog. So, if it's a dog that I would normally price $2 based on ability and it has a good speed map, then it will stay $2. But if a dog's going to crash into it, it might see itself out to 3s or 4s and get a pretty significant push the other way. So I tend to mark the price differently, and that's how I adjust for that sort of speed map pressure. And I tend to go pretty hard on a speed map. I think those early pressures can really change races.
What price are we getting on My Boy Bingo, by the way, at this stage? As I say, it's early days.
Yeah, $7 My Boy Bingo, and opened at 7s. It's actually coming in. Sorry, just as I spoke, it went to 550. So there you go.
Did he really?
Yep.
Are we streaming this podcast maybe?
Well, we might have to. I think my boy Bingo is actually the biggest mover since market opened.
Fair dinkum. Well, what I like about him was last week stuck on the outside of Sprightly's yarn, and as you say, copped a decent old whack. And I think if he probably had every right just to throw the towel in and give up. But
yes.
He found the line strong, and although his time wasn't quick, he lost, I reckon, 4 or 5 through the first corner into the back straight. So he can run a 29-teen type of run, in my opinion. On to race 12. It's the lucky last of the night, 25 past 10, Saturday night. So it'll be a relatively early bedtime for us workers on a Saturday night on a race meeting like this. 1 Porzuri, 2 Smooth Plain, 3 Bagman, 4 Avengement, 5 Ariza Sparkles, 6 Flying Zulus, 7 Kanyaponga, the 8 Elite Intention, 9 Highly Connected, 10 Talcott Bale. Speed map in this one, mate. I think obviously Ariza Sparkles goes forward. Flying Zulu was on speed in a Top Gun, so he should be relatively on speed in a race like this. And I've got Porzuri kicking right up on the speed from the inside draw as well.
Yep, I think poor Zuri will go close to, sort of lobbing second or third in behind the speed. Ariza Sparkles will probably cross, or at least get very close to crossing, and Smooth Plane can step as well. So there's a couple of them that can lead. Kanyaponga has shown that can go close to 5 dead. So I think there's a couple of them that can lead. There's no real clear-cut leader for mine. And beware Flying Zulu too, who can still run.
Elite Intention, he probably did us a favour last week not running into slick splits early in the race. Does he potentially pose a bit of a danger to those drawn sort of that mid to outside pack, the Flying Zulus, the Kanyapongas and the Ariza Sparkles? Because if he steps like he can, he'll put some early heat on those coming across to the rail. Yeah,
look, I think he can. I think I'm not going to worry about him too much. I think the dogs inside of him will be able to hold him out, and it won't cause too much of a fuss, him being there and wanting to get to the rail. But there's certainly a chance of that happening, because if he does come out, and I'm sure he's run closer to 5 dead sectionals before, if he comes out and does something like that, that can cause a world of hurt to a couple of dogs drawn inside.
All right, mate. Well, there we go. That's the 12 races on Saturday night. We've got 8 heats of the Melbourne Cup, 3 of the Bold Trees, both at Group 1, and then a mixed 4 and 5 to kickstart the night. I'm not sure if you can hear in the background. The kids are just walking up and down the hallway. And to be fair, if I don't tip many winners, they might be doing the podcast next week, because I reckon they'd probably go better than I am half the time. So we'll see what plays out. Best bet for the program, I am going race 11, number 2. I think my boy Bingo, as we stated just a moment ago, I think he's going to just spear the leads. Ken Bailey's going to get him humming, and maybe, just maybe, comes out, shows his Sydney form where he went up to the $1 Million Chase, brings it to Sandown Park, and then we start going, hang on a minute, Sporting Legends, they have a slot in the Phoenix. Kenny Bailey's the big dog down there at Sporting Legends. So, I don't know, maybe things are starting to align with my boy Bingo, not just for a Melbourne Cup, but maybe a Phoenix.
Yep, might just be the case. Look, I'm going to go with Zipper on Time as the best bet of the night. I think just drawn beautifully. She'll lead, and I don't think there's anything in this field that will get a chance to run her down. And she's gone $2 into $1.70 in the 30 minutes that we've been recording. So I'm not the only one who likes her. So no, I think she'll take up a spot in the Melbourne Cup final. Yeah, I think she'll be winning too. Who would you play all in right now if you had to pick one that you believe could not only, because it is cutthroat, you have to win your heat, and then you've got to try and win the final next week, and you don't know what draw they're going to get. I guess you look at it in the worst possible way. Something wins this week and then draws the pink in the final, for example. What do you reckon's the dog to play all in? There was 2 that I wanted to play all in, and that's Sharapova Star and Poor Oswald. Just the speedy types, and they've been able to get out on the arm and run time. Poor Oswald's been running some really good time, and look, a couple of months ago, if I had have told myself that I'd be tipping Sharapova Star to run out a 500 Melbourne Cup, I probably wouldn't have believed myself. But she's running in really good touch. She beat a pretty good field last week at the Meadows. So no, I think that those early speed dogs can really win these big races, and I think they're a good chance to win their heat. So there's no reason not to have a couple of pennies on them in the all-in.
Yeah, I'll be going Zipper on Time. He'll be right at the pointy end of the market. My boy Bingo's the other one. If he can do what I think he might be able to do, maybe he gets the job done. And just quickly, we mentioned Ethanol Water, who should just be winning her heat of the Bold Trees.
Yes.
Would you play her all in? to win the final? Look, personally, I'm without a Trease still. I just think, although she's got to hurdle over a harder field in the heat, she's still the big dog when it comes to the big dance in the Bold Trease next week.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's only 3 heats to Bold Trees, so she's likely only going to have to finish top 3 if something goes wrong without a Trease, that is. But just with the heat that ethanol water's drawn, I mean, price sensitive. But yeah, I think there's definitely an angle that you're probably better off backing her in the all-in than you are in her race, because I don't see how she doesn't get through.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think she is the best bet on the program too, especially if they're betting around that 150 mark, ethanol water, race 3, number 7. Well, I think that wraps it up, mate. Pretty quick tear through Melbourne Cup heat night. You be out there on Saturday night, will you, Heath?
Yes, I will. I'll actually be helping the club run the Calcutta, so looking forward to getting that underway and seeing some good action on track.
Plenty happening on track as well. I think the 2 Units podcast boys, or one of those
200 plus,
groups,
very
200
good.
Plus. There you go. I knew someone was. I didn't want to give it too big of a plug because we're green light on here, and
yes, of course.
although I'll be there, we're not getting paid to go there. So anyway, it's going to be a big night, mate. There's plenty going on. The next couple of weeks at Sandown Park. Look, if you listen to this podcast each and every week, and you've never been to the Dogs, this is the time to go. Like if I was going to go to a couple of meetings, I'd go Melbourne Cup heat night. I'd go Melbourne Cup night, and I'd go to the Phoenix. They're 3 of the best nights of racing for the year.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, that's it for episode number 2 of the Melbourne Cup Carnival 2025, looking at the Melbourne Cup heats and the Bold Trees heats as well. Until next time, punters, you know the drill. Safe travelling and happy punting. Beautiful, mate. That was marvellous. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.